in my entire life. And I was absolutely, like, I was obviously very excited, but I was also terrified because I had never been more than like 3 hours away from all my family and friends, and the idea that I was going to be thousands of miles away from all of my families and friends, all my family and my friends, was horrifying. But I was also so excited to get to experience living in Europe, because I think the chances of me living in Europe again are pretty slim, but who knows where life will take me. But it was super terrifying. I got to the airport and my family dropped me off, and it was so, like, it was really sinking in when I was leaving, because I don't think I've ever said my age on here, but I'm 23, and for the first time, at the time I was 22, and it was like my first time ever really traveling by myself, and I was doing this major trip all the way across the world, so it was horrifying, but I was so excited. I didn't know anybody, so that made it like super intimidating and scary, but I was still looking forward to it. I had faith that I would make friends, and I did, so we love that. But I traveled to, I had a layover, and then I had a long flight. My layover was only like 2 hours, and then my flight to Switzerland, I specifically lived in Geneva, Switzerland, which is the French-speaking part of Switzerland, right by France. Literally, like, Geneva is like little tiny, and then just like a couple, you could pretty much, depending on where you are in Geneva, walk across the border and you'll be in France. But so they did not speak German, which is what they speak in most parts in Switzerland, but they spoke French in Geneva. So I took this flight, which I think was like 9 hours long, and we landed at like 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. Switzerland time, and I was greeted by, it was me and 2 other girls who were doing the program with me, and I had no idea, I had never met them before, but we had kind of bonded on the flight there, and so we were greeted with one of the, like, I don't know what you would call him, but he was like one of the main, like, I guess the directors of this program that we were doing, and he was like so energetic. We were just like so jet lagged, and he was like super excited to like show us around, and you know, I got to go into my first European taxi, and it was wild. I will never forget that first taxi ride that I took in Europe, because it was so crazy. Like, the way people drive there is just so different, and I was just like, my eyes were just like going all every which way, and I remember being in the car with these, they're friends, we're like acquaintances, I would say, but I remember being in the car with them, and I think they had both been out of the country before, but we were just like so, like, processing so much, because we were so jet lagged and exhausted, because like none of us had slept on the flight, because I cannot sleep on flights. I've tried so I ended up just taking a ton of pictures and showing them to everybody, sending them to everybody. But yeah, it was crazy. And then I remember my first time like traveling around the city. So in Europe, pretty much everywhere in Europe, their public transportation is like super, super advanced. And at least where I'm from, our public transportation is horrible. Like, we don't really have public transportation. But here, like in Geneva, they have like they have trams, which I call like an in-between of a bus and a train, and buses. And usually, whenever I was going to school, I would have to take a bus, then that's when I would make, but yeah, I'd have to take like, every day I would have to take like a bus, a train, and a tram, at least like 3 times. I was always like switching, and you have to like learn like what route you're gonna go on, and you have to like memorize your bus route, because I didn't know that the buses don't always stop. I thought they stopped for every single stop, but I'm not used to public transportation, so you have to like press, there's like a button that you have to press, and then that starts ringing, and that alerts like the bus driver or the like tram person to stop. Trains will stop at every stop, but trams and buses don't, and they'll just drive right past it, and I learned that the hard way. But yeah, we had to walk around with these like passes that were like, that's called the TPG, I forget what it stands for, but in Switzerland, specifically Geneva, they have these like passes the expensive stuff. So don't waste too much money on that. But yeah, honestly, like I was in Geneva Monday through Thursday, but then mainly Friday through Sunday I was traveling around Europe most times. Sometimes I'd stay in Geneva, but 9 times out of 10 I was somewhere else. And I don't want to go too much into detail about all the places I went to because that'll take forever. But I'll give you a few little highlights. I went to Amsterdam, and that was probably my favorite place I went to. I was terribly sick when I was there, but it is such an amazing city, and I wish I could have done more, but it was so beautiful, and the people were so nice, and everything about it was just like amazing. I loved Amsterdam. My friend and I also went to, correct me if I'm wrong, sorry to all the people from Amsterdam out there, or from the Netherlands in general, but there is this place called Keukenhof, which is this like extremely famous like flower garden, flower bed, huge. It's in like a part of Holland, but I want to say it's like South Holland. I can't remember. I'm so sorry, but they have all these beautiful, vibrant flowers, and it's only like during the spring. I'm pretty sure, maybe summer, and it is so gorgeous. I'm so glad my friend made me go. It was so worth it. Actually, fun fact, my profile picture is of flowers at Keukenhof. So the more you know. But yeah, that's what my profile picture is from. It's just a picture I took of some flowers at Keukenhof. But yeah, and I loved Amsterdam, and I would totally, that's probably the number one place I'd want to go back to, because I just didn't get enough time there. And then I would say probably Lisbon. That was the last place I visited, and it was just so fun, and the people were so fun, and everybody was really happy, and it's amazing. But what I will say is, bring good walking shoes if you're going to Lisbon, because the inclines in Lisbon are like nothing I've ever seen before. They are so steep, and I was dying. I have to say my walking skills probably went up a ton when I was living in Europe. But yeah, no, so living in Geneva and living in Switzerland in general was an incredible experience. I made a ton of friends from all over the world, from countries in Asia, Europe, and I don't think I made any Australian friends. I was gonna say Australia, but I don't think I met anyone from Australia. But like all over the world, and it was so incredible to learn about their culture and their like how they live. And yeah, and I made some friends who aren't too far from me, but you know, don't live exactly like in the same state as me, who I actually went to visit not too long ago, so that was really fun. But yeah, I've made some really fantastic friends through this experience, and yeah, it was amazing, and leaving was so hard. I like got really emotional, and I wasn't really expecting that, because I was like having a lot of homesickness at the beginning, I'll be honest, because I didn't have any friends, and I, you know, was kind of doing this all on my own. But at the end of everything, and like I'd made friends and I developed relationships, it was really sad. Like I was genuinely so sad to be leaving. Like I cried in my apartment, and yeah. But I think the funniest thing about me leaving is that I had these 3 enormous suitcases. Well, only 2 of them were enormous, but I had 3 suitcases, and there's only one me. And somehow I managed to, without any sense of home while I was abroad. It sounds so weird, but it reminded me of like where I'm from, and which, like, obviously no vampires or anything, but just like the people. There wasn't people speaking French. I love the French. I love the Genevoise, but I like just wanted to feel like, you know, I wanted to have a little piece of like reminder of like the US, because that's where I'm from. But yeah, that was the show that I like, my comfort show when I was abroad. So yeah, before I wrap this up, I'll just like recap a few of like the weirdest culture shocks for me when I was in Europe. I will say probably one of the weirdest ones is that they don't refrigerate milk, or at least Switzerland didn't. That was wild for me to find out. I was like, I guess they don't put like a crap ton of preservatives like we do in the US, so probably a good thing. They also don't refrigerate eggs. That one makes a little bit more sense, but the milk totally shocked me. Like, I was so confused when I first saw that. I was like, ew. What else? Oh, they have hardly any frozen food at all. Like, hardly any. That was like a complete nutter shock to me, because in the US, we are like stockpiled with frozen foods, and I think in Switzerland they had like one case of frozen, and it was like ice cream, and like that was basically it. So everything was fresh, and hardly anyone used a microwave. At least I didn't. I used like a toaster oven, which I guess is like not super far off from a microwave, but still like super crazy. What else? I would say